Today's podcast is brought to you by those Christian geeks. Want to be part of a larger group of fun Christian guys? Well, consider checking out the Discord link down below. Join Discord for fun chats and all of that fun stuff, all down below. Or follow us at those Christian geeks over on Instagram.
I kind of do. I don't decorate. I don't do a lot for Halloween, but there are things that I like to do. I've been doing, like, with my streaming, I do Halloween streams. Last year I did a couple horror games during Halloween just for fun and decorating and stuff.
There are multiple passages in the Bible, namely Jesus, where he went to, like, Zacchaeus. He ate with him, and he ministered to him, and, like, in multiple passages in the Bible. But, like, the message is, like, talk to them, pray for them, but don't go and do the things with them. I don't think I'm gonna go to, like, a pride rally. All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Long Distance Peace Party podcast, episode 7. Yeah, we're on episode 7. We weren't here last session, so we have a bonus episode that I put up of a old recording that I did when I thought I could podcast by myself and found out I can't because I have to rebound off of people to make it interesting. So we are technically on episode 7 if you want to count the bonus episode, much how they'll do random crossover episodes on shows and they'll just add those episodes into the list for some reason. But yeah, it is almost Halloween. Halloween is what, Monday? Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yep.
Is it Tuesday? Yeah, it is Tuesday. So
Tuesday.
Something like that. Yeah, so we thought it was a good idea. Last episode we talked about horror characters. This episode we thought it'd be a good idea to talk about should Christians celebrate Halloween. This was the idea suggested by Strange. I thought it was pretty apt. I think we all thought it was pretty apt to do, just because there is a lot of confusion on should Christians celebrate something like that, and that would be a very interesting episode. So Strange actually had posted something in our own personal Discord, and if you do want to join Discord, go check out those Christian Geeks over on Discord. The link is down below. But yeah, I actually watched that video, found it very interesting. Some information I already knew, but there was a lot of other information I didn't know. So I guess the first thing we should ask: does anyone here celebrate Halloween?
Anybody want to go first?
I guess I can go. I used to do it more because I didn't grow up in a Christian household. So it was my dad and I used to do the trick-or-treating thing, dress up in costumes and all of that. And I didn't become a Christian until I was in junior high. And then it was a lot of, like, back and forth, should I, shouldn't I? There were some people in the church that were okay with it and some people that weren't. And I was still learning everything. So I kind of do. I don't decorate. I don't do a lot for Halloween, but there are things that I like to do. I've been doing, like, with my streaming, I do Halloween streams. Last year I did a couple horror games during Halloween just for fun and decorated and stuff. One thing our church does is we don't, like a lot of churches, we don't do a Halloween celebration. We do a fall festival, but we do it on Halloween night. And what we do is we open our doors, and we hand out candy and we hand out tracts and things like that. We get to talk to the community. Our church actually sits right at the start of probably the most popular trick-or-treating street in town. So, like, everybody comes right there. And we have a big open, empty lot right behind us where everybody parks. So we open the doors, we hand out candy, we get to talk to people. We offer free hot chocolate. We let them come in, use the restrooms. We have games set out if they just want to come in, hang, warm up, whatever. It's pretty chilly usually on Halloween around here. So that's kind of how we celebrate. Some of us dress up, some of us don't. I've been dressing up. I'm going to be a Jedi this year because I finally actually have a lightsaber.
Nice.
So that's what I'm going to do. So kind of. I don't do a whole lot for Halloween, and technically we're doing a fall festival, not Halloween, but we do it on Halloween, and it's a good outreach to the community. And we're not preaching to them. We just be friendly with them.
Yeah. Do you live out in the desert? Is that right?
I do.
Okay. I know it gets cold. What I know about the desert is it's really hot during the day, but it gets really cold at night. So
Yeah, it's mountainous desert, so we're at a high elevation. We're at like 4,300 feet.
ooh,
So yeah, there's a shift between day and night can go up to like a 30 to 40 degree shift.
wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, for me, growing up in a preacher's house or a pastor's house, uh, we were a little bit strict with Halloween as far as a secular celebration. I was part of a small church, so we didn't really do a lot of fall festivals or Hallelujah nights. Now, I attended several Hallelujah nights as a kid. I remember that, going to different churches and things like that. But my mom, particularly my mom, wouldn't really let me go out and go trick or treating. What I would do sometimes is we would hand out candy and stuff, but a lot of times, kind of like what you were saying, Strange, it was like with tracks. And because, a lot of publishers, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there's several out there, will publish theme tracks to Halloween and stuff like that. And so we would do that, and I might would sit on the porch like in a cowboy outfit or something and hand out candy. Now, as I've gotten into my adulthood, I don't normally go out of my way to celebrate Halloween either. Now, I will like go to like if a church is having like there's a church that my family is involved with that's having a fall festival on Sunday, and I'll probably go attend that and fellowship and things like that. But I won't go out of my way. Now, I have like gone to maybe one haunted type attraction, but it's just not really a big thing for me. Not necessarily just because of my faith, although it plays obviously a big part of it. I did watch a little bit of the TikTok you sent earlier as well. I didn't watch all of it, but it is interesting how over time, well, one because of age, but over time your beliefs on certain holidays or certain traditions can change, and also how a whole body of believers can see certain things and change. And on a side note, Nathan, no offense to you, man, but whatever you're clicking is really picking up in your mic.
It's
I think that
not
might be
me.
sketch.
Oh,
Sketch or
I think it
whoever it
might
that's
is.
be
me.
sketch.
Sorry,
Oh, it's all right. I thought it
No,
was
you're
sorry. I thought it
good.
was Nathan because I saw
I'm
something in his
playing
hand.
Minesweeper.
Oh, you're good,
It's all
but it's
It's
good.
picking
kind
up
of my
really good in your
fidget
mic.
thing
No,
on
it's
my
not me.
computer. So
My bad. But either way, it's picking up. But anyway, um, but yeah. So for me, not any as a kid. Now as an adult, I don't really go out for it at all as much. But I mean, I do enjoy the candy. That's for sure. Too much.
Oh yeah. Uh, personally, I never really celebrated it. Like it was never a thing in my house. We never really did any of the decor or anything. I barely did anything. I mean, I'll put something a little something up for videos around the time, but I find it too much of a hassle now. Even my church, we never really did anything. The closest thing we did, we had like, we even want to call it like a fall festival or anything like that. We had like small events, but like generally we don't do that anymore. We don't like that's not something our church does. We don't do trunk or treat or anything like some other churches will do. We're one of the only churches I feel like that actually doesn't do anything like that around now. It was in our house. It was never a thing that was talked about or celebrated. And my parents kind of explained why, and it was just to them it was just what it could invite because of like what Halloween represents now versus I guess how again how that video kind of talked about where Halloween started versus where it's kind of ended up. And again, I kind of agree with the video at a point where it's like it depends on how you look at it and how you view it and how you celebrate it. There's, candy's fine, costumes are fine, but then it's like there are other people that how they celebrate Halloween where they are doing some of this other things. Like in my neighborhood, I guess every year they will have like a witch with like a cauldron and like they're doing all this stuff in the park. Like that's a thing they do every year. And like they're reciting stuff. For years didn't know that. Mom's like, yeah, they do this. If you go by, and I just noticed. I think last year, I got off work one night and just came home and I saw it. I was like, oh, interesting. So, what about you, Sketch?
well, I grew up in a missionary household, so stuff was like
Ah,
extra strict in some ways because my parents had to put on a good front for like all the different churches that supported them and their standards. So it wasn't even like it wasn't exactly even a personal standard with my family. It was just can't do anything to uh, offend any of the churches that support us. At least that's how it started. I feel like mom and dad are a lot more. It's okay to have your own standards, and you don't have to please everybody, kind of thing. But uh, growing up, we never celebrated Halloween. It wasn't a thing. It was a weird thing because like we'd put out stuff for trick or treaters. We'd give out candy, but we couldn't go trick or treating ourselves. We could still dress up at the house. We just couldn't go out. And I have never really personally. I don't like Halloween. I've never been into scary stuff or gory stuff or anything like that. Um, so just like the whole thing that it seems to be celebrating, at least today, is kind of not my thing. But my sister, who was born October 29th, she really likes she's really into like horror stuff and uh all kinds of well, she's not particularly she likes dressing up. She likes fantasy stuff. And so she'd always ask for a costume party so that we could kind of have a Halloween anyway. So we had her birthday party as a costume party on Halloween. So that was my Halloween experience. We have candy for the trick or treaters. We have all our friends over, and we dress up, and we just have a good time at the house. Yeah. Lately, I feel like there's kind of been stuff to dress up for around Halloween up till this year when she left. She went to Belgium actually. She's back now, but we thought her trip was going to be longer, and so we didn't really do many birthday plans. We're kind of in the process of celebrating right now, but it's just like a nice dinner and going out somewhere. So we didn't get to plan anything big.
Nice.
So yeah, I feel like obviously I think we can all agree witchcraft bad. But as far as just celebrating spooky spooky season, I don't really see a problem with it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like with that argument, like how some people in church don't celebrate Christmas. Like, or at least I've heard that explanation of because of like where it started. Some people don't celebrate.
Holiday.
Like I've like, yeah. Like I guess you like Halloween that way too, but also like he was mentioning the video how Halloween started. It was just the change into changing the seasons, like different parts of the year. That's how it started, and just over time, you know, that's how a lot of holidays have started. It was one thing, and then I guess commercialized is the right word. It's like Valentine's Day's that way,
Yeah.
Christmas, Halloween, like most holidays, just over time got commercialized. So
It just
I
evolved
wonder,
into something that you wouldn't even recognize for
well, I
Oh,
like
yeah.
wonder
back in the
kind
day.
of what Sketch was saying. Um, it's interesting what she said about how with her upbringing, it was very strict, but very strict for the point of with her family or her parents being missionaries, they didn't want to offend anybody. That kind of comes back to
Mm-hmm.
Paul's writing, talking about you may have the freedom to do this and this and this, or I may not feel the condemnation in doing something, but I don't do it in order not to offend my brother. Um, I guess it really depends upon the context and what God has convicted you of, whether you want to participate in some things. And something just kind of came to me, and I'll throw this out to y'all. What's the difference between dressing up as a character for a Comic Con and dressing up for something as Halloween? I
Hmm.
mean, is there a difference there? That just came to me. Like, wait a minute, I never looked at that before. It just popped in my head as
Yeah.
we were sitting there. I was like, is that not kind of doing the same thing? Because we're going to a comic book convention or or a show or something, and we're dressing up pretending to be a character, and this one night that we pick out in the year, we're doing the same thing. But what's the difference between those two things? You know?
Yeah.
that came up to me as like Halloween's just a nationwide Comic-Con.
Oh yeah.
I guess it also depends upon what your purpose is in it, because there are people and there are pagan societies and Wiccans and witches that do take Halloween almost as a holy day to them. And it does tend to promote certain things that we as believers try to stand against. Um, but at the same time, what we try to do, I mean, even kind of like Christmas, because there are some people that don't believe in celebrating Christmas, and that's up to them. And God bless them if they don't want to or do or whatever. But I guess it depends upon what can we do to use something to promote Christ, like you were talking about the fall festival at your church, Strange, or the one I'm going to go to on Sunday. And can we turn something that a lot of us consider evil, or some of us consider evil or a bad day, and turn it into something that is an opportunity to promote something that we all, so greatly believe in. So I really guess for a Christian in Halloween, I guess it looks at a couple of different issues. One being, um, what are we using it for, and how, like, what is our response to it? How is our response to the community that we're around in? I guess that's probably a roundabout way of saying it. But what are we using it for, and how is it influencing our community?
Right. And either if that's doing trunk or treat or doing some fall festival, or my grandma's church this one year. It's the only time I've seen them do this, and I don't know how I felt about it. Was they're like scary things in the Bible. They did it on Halloween. It was like through the church was like a maze, I guess, or like a guide through. I don't know
Like
if
a
that's the
judgment
right
house.
way.
Just like a
Sure,
judgment
I
house.
don't.
Yeah, instead of a haunted
Yeah,
house.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you should do it. Especially if they know nothing from the Bible, and you want to freak them out. But like, if it scares them enough to come to church, I guess it works.
Well,
But
there's actually there's a church in my community, which I thought about going to see what it's about. But there is a church in my community doing a judgment house, and they've actually called it Collision. It says real people, real choices, real consequences. So I guess that's kind of an extreme way of reaching people for Jesus. But I mean, I guess I can see the allure to that, because if people are we going to go to haunted houses and get scared?
oh yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea. I have heard of those before. Just like a Bible themed haunted house.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It's an interesting concept, yeah.
it is. It is interesting. I mean, what's the difference? I guess I go back. I know I'm talking a lot. I'm sorry, but I guess
no, you're good.
it's kind of like, what's the difference between? I guess in a way, we've seen preachers in the past. They'll preach these real hellfire and brimstone messages. I guess in a way, they're using some of these opportunities. They're taking what other people would be like with haunted houses and presenting something that, hey, you go to a haunted house full of fake ghosts. This is a judgment house full of real decisions that if you don't make this decision properly, then this might be where you end up. So
Oh
interesting
yeah,
concept, I guess.
Of course, I've never
but
been to one. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what they're like.
oh yeah,
I don't know if any of you've actually dealt with somebody who was extremely against it. There was one family in my church a few years ago that completely locked themselves in their house, turned off all their lights to make it look like they weren't home, and just would absolutely not do anything. And when we talked about fall festival at that point, there was a lot of changes going on in the church, and the fall festival was brought up, like they were supremely against it. And to me, I can kind of understand that they don't want to, promote the witchcraft or the Satanism that some people could associate with that. But to me, the way I started changing my thought about it is, how often do you have people come to your house and you have this free chance to just interact with them, right? Or if you open up your church, come to your church and you have this awesome opportunity to just interact and be like, you know, you don't know anything about our church, but you know, you can see that we're just real people and we can laugh and have fun and you know, and dress up, and we're not going to dress up as demons or witches or anything like that. Like, you know, I could dress up as a Jedi, or I think my pastor's this year's going to dress up as like a Bible character. I don't know. So you can still have fun with it. And it's, how do you present yourself to the community? And are you scared? Right? Are you scared of what's going on, or super strict? And a lot of times that's what turns people off from wanting to have anything to do with you. Or are you going to be just open and have fun with them? Because yeah, there's those people out there that do the witchcraft and the Satanism and whatever, but it's a very, very small minority. And most of the people are just out there to have fun, dress up, get some candy for their kids. And, you know, if you're so against that, it turns people off.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're good.
It's interesting that you mentioned dressing up as a Jedi as opposed to a witch or demon, because I actually knew a missionary family that wouldn't let their kids watch Star Wars because of the Eastern mysticism in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like Star Wars isn't trying to teach anyone anything about religion, but the concept of the Jedi, the mystic aspect of it, I believe, I've heard anyway, is based on a combination of Christian stuff and Eastern Buddhist or Taoist philosophy. And so because of that, because these, did I mention they were missionaries to Japan? Did I say that?
No, you didn't mention.
Okay, yeah, they were missionaries to Japan. So they were in an area that had those beliefs that they were trying to overcome. And so they didn't want their kids picking up on that from Star Wars and like that being a gateway for them. So that was an interesting encounter, because it was like it was specific to their mission field.
I was going to say, so in that context, I can see why, in a way.
Yeah.
Because it was relevant to that situation.
Yeah. That situation, that place. But I've known parents who wouldn't let their kids watch Pokemon.
Yeah, and growing up, I wasn't allowed to watch Pokemon, actually.
And I can kind of see it, but I guess it's just the area, but then also how deeply are the people, once again, it goes to how many people are looking at things like that. And usually it's a very small minority. And an 8-year-old kid is not going to be thinking about the, you know, mysticism and Eastern mysticism of a Jedi. There's going to be like, oh, that's really cool, and this laser sword, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that, like, gateways, I think, are, you know, it's a concern in a lot of Christian households, and I feel like it is valid for like small children who haven't developed a worldview yet, because if they see something that they think is really cool, they might go look up more stuff about that and get into things that, like, you know, the real, you know, like, you know, if they watch a show about a witch and they look up witchcraft, then they're going to find real witchcraft stuff. Or, you know, if they actually, that's the only example I can think of. I'm not sure where you would go from Pokemon to Eastern mysticism. Thinking about it, but I guess, you know, if you research, if a kid researches that unsupervised, they might find ideas presented as real that would go against our worldview, that we would believe are not real, and we need to keep them away from that, because they need a foundation in truth before they can approach those ideas maturely. So
you're right.
Oop.
There is I don't know if any of you guys know what. Oh, okay.
Your video's out.
Does
your
anyone?
video's gone.
Mine?
I can see myself. I can't see Strange, or I can't see Sketcher.
Yes, your
Crad.
video.
So
Apparently, there's a delay too.
Well, I don't have a video feed anyway.
I can see my video. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, your video's out, buddy.
It's mine. It says I have like
Well, you're
actual
the host,
recording is
so-
higher quality. Maybe that's why.
It says live video will
I don't know
return when
what's
the
going
internet
here.
improves.
Ah.
Oh goodness, what is with internet lately?
Weird.
I've been having trouble
Let's
with
see.
mine.
There
I
you
don't
are.
know.
Yep.
Mine
okay.
mine dips occasionally, but whatever. Does anyone remember Adventures in Odyssey? The audio program. They had an
Yes.
episode
I loved
kind of
Adventures in
like
Yes,
that.
I had several of the tapes.
They
and
had
everything.
they had an episode about D&D essentially. And it was kind of going
remember
with
that
it was
one.
kind
Oh
of
my
teaching that
goodness.
message where it was Jimmy's cousin was really into D&D or something like that, but he got really into it, but like where he thought it was real. And it was kind of teaching
Yeah,
that
but they had like an
message.
actual demonic warfare going on with it.
Yeah, I think it was a
remember
little
that
too
episode very
ham-fisted.
clearly.
I get the idea of that episode, but I think it was a little too ham-fisted. Like, but it goes with that like that concept of again how you are celebrating it and what your intentions are. So, I kind of wish my church did more around now because we, like I said, we have nothing. Like my church, we used to have a fall festival. The Baptist church that I went to the high school of, they do something every year. They have a fall festival. I'm sure I've seen an ad for it because they have roadside signs up about it. Like they're actually trying to do outreach, and we're because they live like where that church is set. It's kind of it's near a lot of stuff, but it's kind of just to itself. Like where it's situated is like right across from our BMV, which is the best spot. But like where my church is set, it's set in a way better spot. Not saying like that church was in a bad spot, but like we're near a lot of the different like I guess I say poor housing of town, where there's a lot more outreach, and we do nothing anymore. I remember when I was younger, my mom and I and like other people from the church, we would just walk around in the summer with like a cooler and some popsicles, go around to the kids and be over in the playground. And I kind of wish we did something like that now. It'd be like because essentially live on the skirt of like a neighborhood, and there are kids that will come over and come to the church on Wednesdays. I've just something I noticed doing. I do our security, help do some of the security. Some of the kids are interested, but like that's just like one kid, and it's like a full neighborhood. So it's like I feel like churches should be doing more around now, but it goes with what their intentions are. And like you were saying, Strange, about some people are very hesitant to do that. They feel like you shouldn't be celebrating it in any way, so which is interesting. But yeah,
Well, maybe you could
and
be
other weird
the catalyst
news.
for change at your church, man.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure there are people that want to do something. Like the lady that is our kid ministry really wants to do stuff. So she wants to do stuff with like our summer stuff. So again, but also you have to have the ones, and you have to have the people that are interested to do it and have like the heart to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
So if no one wants to do it, then you really can't do anything. But if people keep saying something, and there's someone at our church be like, "Hey, why aren't we doing this and this thing?" But like we got the people to do it, but it also depends on like people in my church that want to do it. But in other weird news, did anyone see what's going on with the Dove Awards?
Referring
Speaking
to
of like
the
dress up, what was going on?
drag person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was some musician, I guess, that was already openly gay for the most part, like had a drag queen on stage with them at the Dove Awards, like a known Christian awards ceremony. And John Cooper from Skillet kind of was like speaking about it. He'd be like, "Hey, this isn't the thing we should be doing as Christians,"
Right.
Which kudos to him, but also like I think he got a lot of flack for it from people, like. But it's like strange, like in the world we live right now,
Yeah.
where that's the case.
So it was it was the singer for Caedmon's Call, Derek Webb. He wore a dress, and he was flanked by the drag queen Flamey Grant.
Okay.
And Flamey Grant, which I
Yeah.
think is a play on Amy Grant, if you ask me, I don't know for sure,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
has come out with some songs, which I actually listened to one, which I don't know, but I ain't gonna go there. But I listened to songs, and I don't know if that person was actually nominated for a Dove or just got snuck in with Caitlin's Call or what happened, but it was kind of a big controversy.
Yeah, I just saw that and I was like, oh, okay. Like that's something you'd expect at like a major like award ceremony. Not at like the Dove Awards.
Not
but
right.
Yeah.
But also I couldn't tell you the last time I paid attention to the Dove Awards. But anyway.
Well, there's another example
Where
of
we at?
something that we would normally consider holy or righteous or positive, and something's trying to push in on it. So it's the world we live in now, unfortunately. The question is,
Oh
like
yeah.
Strange was saying, and I guess kind of like that guy was talking about the TikTok, are we going to be scared, or are we going to stand for what we believe in the face of a cancel culture, in the face of a culture that
Right.
is willing to acquiesce instead of stand for what they believe in because they're afraid of controversy? Are we willing to be the people that are willing to stand up for what we believe in and be risking controversy at times in a loving way, not in a way that's
Oh yeah.
judgmental, but in a way that says
Yes.
this is what God says and this is where we stand, and we can't move back about it no further.
Yeah. And that's where
I like in that video, the guy he mentions, it's kind of towards the end of the closing, so you may not have seen this if you didn't watch the whole thing, which it was like almost 10 minutes, so I don't blame you for not watching the whole
thanks TikTok for
But,
doing 10-minute videos.
Yeah, for TikTok extending their videos now they can anyway. He talked about, a lot of Christians view it as Devil's Day, the Devil's Day.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that there's nowhere in the Bible where he gets his own day. Every day
Right.
is the Lord's day. This is the Lord day. This is the day the Lord has made, right? We will rejoice and be glad in it. So by calling it Satan's day, we're giving up something that's not his to take.
Oh yeah.
Right? That he doesn't own. So, and that's another part of it too, is are we just going to let the devil have his day, or are we going to take it back kind of thing?
This makes me think of another broader subject that I don't know if we want to rabbit trail into. But just the idea of fear. I think a lot of times when Christians are afraid, it works against them. It's
Yeah.
it is a tool of evil to make Christians afraid, because number one, that makes them not act. Either that makes them not act, or it makes them lash out hatefully.
Mm-hmm.
And those are both things that we shouldn't be doing as Christians. Like, perfect love casts out fear. And, I have yet to experience perfect love, I think, because I am always anxious. But
oh yeah.
But people that picket with signs that say God hates gays and stuff like that, I think the term homophobic is good to refer to them, because it is out of fear that they are lashing out in hate. And it's not true. Right. God does not hate gays.
Not at all.
He loves them just as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
And he expects us to love them as our neighbor, same as any other type of person is our neighbor. So it's not good to give into this attitude of fear of anything that seems different or out of place, because that just fear itself is it's a negative thing for Christians.
Oh yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah, there are multiple.
It's bad for our message.
Oh yeah, there are multiple passages in the Bible, namely Jesus, where he went to like Zacchaeus. He went ate with him, and he ministered to him, and like in multiple passages in the Bible. But like the message is like talk to them, pray for them, but don't go and do the things with them. Like don't I don't think I'm gonna go to like a pride rally. It's not like because I don't I hate
yeah.
people that celebrate that, but I don't want to participate in that because of what it promotes. That doesn't mean I don't dislike those people. It's just like I'd rather pray for them and like talk with them. I don't want to go and like with that thing. Who is that musician that one did that? They were posting about it on Pride Month during Pride Month. They're posting about it about like a reason why they went to why the Pride Month.
Is it a Christian musician?
It was
I
it
don't
was
know.
some Christian musician.
no idea.
Was it? I think it was Plum, if I think about it correctly.
Sure.
But I remember she got some flack for it. And in a way, I kind of understand what she's doing, but also like, I guess how like again goes to like what your intentions are. But I don't think I'd be going around waving around the pride flag during the protest, nor would I be the one on the side with like the other Christians that are picketing against it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
For me, go ahead, Strange.
The way that I kind of explained it to somebody, or tried to explain it to somebody, is I have family members that are homosexual, and I still love them, right? And
Right.
I can hang out with them, I can talk with them, and do all this. And then if the subject comes up, I can say I disagree with your lifestyle, but that doesn't, and here's why. This is what the Bible says. If we want to get that deep into that subject, but I can still love you, and if you're and it also falls into if they're a Christian or not too, because if they are not a Christian, they're really not bound by the same things that we are.
Right.
And they don't have the Holy Spirit either. Like we have something.
The Holy Spirit.
That's another thing. Like, if you're gonna get rid of a bad thing, you need to replace it with a good thing, and they don't have that good thing to replace it with. You know what I mean?
Well, they're still looking for it, and that's where they've gone.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell. I believe that homosexuality and all the LGBTQ stuff is wrong. But I don't know if you can tell someone to stop doing that if they don't already have Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
If they're not committed to live by the same standard as you are, if they're not a Christian, then they're not going to commit to the same standard that you are, obviously. So they can do what they want, essentially. As long as they don't hurt somebody else, they can do what they want. And they're not breaking any of the laws, right? So I can tell someone why I disagree with them, where that comes from, why I will not support that, but then I'm also not going to try to force you to live by a standard that you've not committed to, that I have committed to.
Yeah.
It's and it just goes back to fear. Some people are just afraid to talk to those people. The way I was raised, that stuff was never around me, but it just wasn't because people my parents were afraid of this stuff. It was just something that I was never around, and it wasn't until more recent, like when I first started working, like that was something they told me about. Be like, hey, there's gonna be people that they're gonna view something different, and that's fine if you talk about like what you believe in, but you gotta understand some people aren't gonna respect that. And I ended up working so I used to work at a Subway in a pilot truck stop. And this truck stop was known as the gay subway. The majority of my coworkers were gay or lesbian, like it was in anywhere in that, which was interesting, but like none of them really hated me for what I believed in, nor did I hate them. We actually had very interesting conversations during our shifts about multiple stuff. Like I'd come in Sunday after church and they'd ask me what the service was about. And at first that kind of put me because like to me, you hear some of those stories of how those people react differently to Christians. but none of them ever reacted that way, and we had very meaningful conversations. So it's also like it goes back to how you minister to people, like my how I acted and my reputation was kind of my ministry to them. I don't know if it affected them anywhere after we stopped working together, but I think it personally did in some aspect. But of course, I don't work around. I'm not around those people anymore. But from what I can see, some of their actions, some of them have changed for the better or worse in some cases. But it kind of goes back to how you decide to minister, and it's how you react with people. So
That's how you treat people.
Well, going back to fear for just a minute, a couple things I'd say on that. One, everything y'all have said, spot on, definitely. I think probably some of today's biggest problems that we have, and I'm talking about political, I'm talking about a society, I'm talking about even the situation which we see unfortunately unfolding in Israel and Palestine right now, is based out of two emotions. Number one being anger, and number two being fear. See, fear to me tells me that I have a reason to isolate myself from a certain group. I have a reason to believe the worst about somebody, and I have a reason to have nothing to do with somebody. Um, and I'm afraid that sometimes as Christians, even as a body of believers, that we have been taught that even in pulpits by well-meaning preachers that will tell us that if they're different from you, if they do something a little different, you must separate yourself. Well, as I recall, and I could be wrong, any of you are welcome to correct me on this, but Peter got in trouble for this uh, when he uh, when he was having some. He would say one thing about one group of people and say, "Okay, I'm not going to I'll fellowship with the pure-blooded Jews and the people of Israel, but I won't have anything to do with them Gentiles." And Paul had to say, "Wait a minute now, let's put a break on that. That's not what." The Gentiles have been grafted in, and that's what you and I are. Obviously, we're Gentiles when it comes to that. So with fear, I mean, false. Of course, a good acronym I've heard: fear is false evidence appearing real. Um, if we do not allow ourselves to be not going with the culture, like you said, Nathan, but if we don't allow ourselves to be surrounded by things we do not understand, not to challenge our beliefs, but to better get a handle about where are these people at, like you said about particularly the degree of people dealing with homosexuality. If I do not befriend somebody that's dealing with that particular sin, how can I know how to minister to the issue of their heart, or to the issue of whether they've been abused, or maybe they've not had a good role model in their life, or maybe they don't understand love as we understand love, or if somebody's been an alcoholic or somebody's been on drugs. If I'm not willing to put myself out there to them, then am I really doing what God has called us to do, to be in around people, not committing the sins that they're committing, but allowing myself to be understanding about how they got to whatever position that they're in. If I'm just bottling the gospel that I know, if I'm just bottling the gospel that has made me whole, if I don't go out there and share the message, this is where I was, this is what happened to me, and this is my story, then am I really fulfilling the Great Commission as stated in Matthew, that we're to go out amongst all the world and preach the gospel, not just the select few that. And I think one reason, and I could be wrong, and again y'all can correct me, and that's fine. We see a lot of our churches, particularly ones that are more closed off, dead and dying, is because we won't allow ourselves to be effective in our communities to where the people are that are in the midst of these everyday struggles. And I'm talking about more than just homosexuality. I'm talking about a pregnant mother that's out of wedlock. I'm talking about somebody that may have just had their electricity shut off. I'm talking about, unfortunately, the homeless man on the corner of Walmart that everybody gives a bad rap to because he's standing there with a sign. We need to understand the stories behind these people instead of fearing them or automatically throwing up a caution flag. Now, caution is good in most instances. Don't get me wrong. It's a wise thing to be cautious. It's a wise thing to have, especially in today's society. I mean, we just saw another mass shooting happen in Maine of a guy that we don't even know what the reason yet for what he did there, and then he committed suicide. What drives a man to do that? I don't know. We do at the same time have to be so willing to put ourselves out there and so past that concept of fear that we have to go to the communities of people that don't. That's one reason I think that people, um, we have a bad rap, is because we close ourselves off so much as a church, as a whole body of believers, and we'll preach at people. We are excellent in preaching. There are great ministers, wide and far. They can study scripture. They can quote the Greek and the Hebrew and upside down and theologies and all this stuff, and there's no problem with that. But if we're not executing the hands and feet part of the gospel, then I think we're missing many opportunities because of that thing called fear. And that's a big diatribe. I'm sorry, but
Oh yeah, no, you're good.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you hit that right on the nail. It's yeah,
Yeah. If
it's interesting.
Go ahead.
No, you're good.
It to me, it's you have to meet people where they are, and if you can't do that, I mean, you can't partake. Like I used to when so I spent a few years in the military, and I was Christian back then, and it was interesting. I would go hang out with my coworkers, I guess you could call them. On Friday nights, we'd go hang out at the bar. We'd shoot some pool. We might go bowling, something like that. And I could be around them. I could hang around. I could have fun. I was usually the DD because I didn't drink. And it was that example as I went and I hung out and I had fun, but I had that example and I wasn't partaking of the things that they were. And I'm not saying drinking is bad. I'm saying too much is bad, right? But that's something I learned over time too. But I was still keeping myself separate in my values and beliefs, but I was there with them, right? And I think that's how our example Jesus was, right? He was with the tax collectors and sinners. He was in the bad parts of town hanging out with people, right? So but he wasn't partaking in any of that. He was just there to treat people like they needed to be treated.
And that actually
to be able to reach to them.
That actually brings up another point I want to make right quick. Obviously, different ones of us struggle with different types of sins.
Right.
Some people are more tendent to be an alcoholic. Some people are more tendent to overeat. That's my camp. Not going to lie about it. And some people, like for me, I applaud. I applaud people that can go into places like a porn convention or the Adult Entertainment Awards. There are ministries out there that do that, and I take my hat off to them every day. But I know for myself, given my past experience, I cannot do that. I cannot enter into that because that would be one of those instances, kind of like you said, you didn't have a problem going out on a Friday night because that didn't tempt you. But for me, if I were to go to an atmosphere like that, just knowing who I am, my past, I couldn't do that. But I'm glad that there are people that God has called to go out to the very right in the middle of everything, pretty much, and reach those that they can reach. And to say, and I hate when people criticize ministries like that because that is definitely needed. That is definitely kind of like what we consider, when they have surgeons on the front line of a war. I consider those people to be on the front line of a very big war. Now, granted, that's not my battlefield. I can't go on that battlefield, and I recognize that. But I'm thankful that there are people that can go and say, "Send me, Lord," and I'll go. So I'm thankful for ministries like that.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, it's that just reminded me of something. It's like tonight, technically, I was supposed to go bowling with my young adult group at church. That was an activity that we had set up because we aim to do some activity once a month, and we invite people that we know. And it's our former ministry. We invite them to some activity, and we all just hang out. Whether they want to come or not, whether it's affiliated with religion or not. Some people, people that I've interacted with, they don't want anything to do with it. But we decided we're going to push it back 2 weeks. We're going to do it on a Wednesday night. Generally, a lot of people don't do ministries. When do people usually do some ministry? I think it's a Friday or a Saturday. We're going to make it on a Wednesday night, 6:00, where a lot of our college students are, I live in a college town, so like that's a lot where a lot of people are hanging out. We're going to do it in a bowling alley that's kind of in the middle of town, and we're going to invite anyone once. We're going to offer to pay for 2 games and their shoes. Now, that is a form of ministry, young people coming out, just having fun, hanging out. And that's us through our ministry, getting to talk to people, knowing people. Maybe a worker's there and they see us. We have shirts that we've already made for our, like that's for our group. They've got the group name on it. And I've already had people when I've warned them going to Walmart and be like, hey, what's that? And I was like, oh, it's my young adult group at church. And well, the people that have asked are far too old for the group. But I'm like, yeah, it's part of my church. You're more welcome to come. Like that's a form of ministry, and that's what that's been our goal since we started the young adult group, I think last summer. And it's kind of just like this change, I guess, like because it's always been activities for inside the group. And yes, people have come like outside of the group, but like they never really stay. They're always there just for the activity once a month, or they're never there for Wednesday, whether other outside reasons. But it's kind of one of those shifts, something they put that a change that's been put on our leaders' hearts, being able to minister to people. That's what the activities are for. And it kind of goes with a lot of this, which is very interesting.
I'm liking the topic switches here. It all goes together.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to bow out pretty soon because
oh no, you're good.
Gotta get to bed soon.
Well, we're about
no,
50 minutes in. I think it's a pretty good podcast.
Oh yeah. We've had a lot of interesting conversations that have all really gelled together.
Yeah,
it's one of those episodes. It's what.
Heavy stuff, guys. Heavy stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Does anyone want to talk about anything else before Sketch dips out? Or should we end it here?
I think we're pretty good to end.
Oh yeah, I think it's one of those. So if you guys have enjoyed this episode, again, start checking out those Christian Geeks over on Discord, link down below. I think there's also the Instagram page. And you can check any of us out. You can check Pizza Party Pod, this podcast at Pizza Party Pod on most social media platforms, namely TikTok and Instagram. Those are the main two that are really the focus. You can find me at ft_reviews again on most social media platforms. A video you should check out this week. A lot of your Christmas stuff is starting to show up now, so Christmas tree cake reviews should be coming out Monday, along with some other stuff. So consider checking that out. I post throughout the week, and also on other social media platforms. Strange, where can they find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Strange Plains Games, and then we also did the group with Sketchbird, SillyBoy, and Hufflesnitch for the Kingdom streamers. We're gonna have some more videos of that coming up soon. We finished Pico Park. I just got to finish all the editing. Yeah, those are kind of my main ones.
Sketch, where can they find you? I guess all the same things.
On YouTube as Sketchbird Tries. I haven't uploaded much yet, but I'm working on it. Kingdom Streamers, I'm also part of that. And on Instagram as _art and _fanart and sketches. Those are two different accounts.
Yeah, y'all can find me here and on Discord.
Yeah.
Nice. SillyBoy isn't here, but you can find him at what was it? SillyBoy. Here, I got the links.
I think it's SillyBoy1202 on just about everything. So
yes, SillyBoy1202. And if he decides to come back, I know he has been busy lately, but that is Talon. You can find him over on Instagram at Geek Gallery Art. He hasn't posted anything in a while, but I know because we were talking the other day, he's been busy with some stuff, work-wise and church-wise. So. Yeah, that's a good episode. Next week, we will be on November. I actually been talking to another friend to come on of the bonus episode that we did that I posted, because he has book 2 he is planning on dropping in December. So I thought it'd be a perfect for him to come on and talk about his books and just being being part of Sanctuary Matrix International and just being a Christian artist and just being out there. So if Hayden is free, you can go to Amazon, look up Crimson 6 or Crimson 6 Hayden Cockrell, or you can go to sanctuarymatrixinternational.com. You can find it there along with some of their own merch. They have their own coffee that you can check out. And so they check out any of the other stuff. Pastor Bob is another person that's there. He has his own devotional and all that stuff. That's all on their store. I'll link it down below because Hayden's a really neat guy and I like to have him on. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, if you wanted to find more stuff like this, follow us where you can find full episodes and the shorts on Instagram and here on TikTok and here on YouTube. All right. I'll have this. What was our outro? SillyBoy had an outro for us and I couldn't remember it.
don't
I wrote it
remember.
down.
I'm going to say eat pizza,
I
have
wrote
a
it-
party. No, I'm kidding.
Sure. Yeah. All right. I think that's good. When SillyBoy's here, he'll remember it. All right.
Yeah. Take care. May God bless.
Till next time.
Yep. All right. I'm just gonna end the session if it'll let me.
Bye, everybody.
There we go.
Bye.
See ya.
Edit.
Pizza time.